Hi, I'm Heather from Heather Handmade, and today we are going to learn how to lengthen a pattern to make it into a dress. So today I am using a blouse pattern. This is the Lucerne blouse pattern by Hey June. I'm doing the V-neck option and I'm going to lengthen it into a dress. I'm using this beautiful fabric from Style Maker Fabrics. It's part of their fall collection, and it's a kind of like a crinkly rayon, and it's a beautiful navy and white print. So when I say lengthen a pattern, this is not making the pattern long enough to fit your longer torso. There is a different way to add length in the middle of a pattern. The length we're adding today is actually changing the design of the pattern and making a blouse pattern into a dress, and not moving any of the points like the waist or the hips in the blouse. We're leaving those all the same and not moving them up or down. Lengthening I'm talking about is just adding length to the bottom, and it changes the design. So I have some medical exam paper. I buy it in a roll from Amazon. This is my favorite way to use lightweight paper for altering patterns. So you need something, you can use tissue paper, you can use regular paper, you can use Swedish tracing paper, whatever you want you can use, but I'm using medical exam paper in a giant roll. I have my two bodice pieces, they're already cut out, and my regular alterations that I do to Hey June patterns, I drop the waist. So that is already done. It's cut out in my size. And then you also need a pen. I like using a pen that is a different color than the ink. So the ink on the paper is black and my pen draws blue. And so I like to do green or blue or red just because it's easier for me to differentiate between the black of the pattern and what I'm drawing on. And then you need paper scissors. Don't use your fabric scissors to cut out your paper pattern. Some tape. I like to use magic tape because you can draw on it with your pen. It doesn't like wipe off since it's like a matte finish. The ink will stay on the tape. And then a clear ruler with markings, and that will help you be able to see through the ruler to mark your pattern. You need a cutting mat. You don't need it to cut out, but I like to use it for measuring. When I'm working with a large pattern, it helps to have something to line it up with. So I have my paper pattern, and this is the waist of the pattern, and I know how much I want the pattern to be lengthened from the waist down. You can choose to go from the waist, or you can choose to go through the side seam and lengthen down. The important thing is that you know where this will hit on your body or this will hit on your body, so that you'll know that you'll get the right length that you want. I have not actually made this pattern before, so I don't know where this will hit on my body or this. So I'm choosing to go by the waist because I know where Hey June patterns, where their waist is, where it hits me at my waist, and then I know what length I like below that. So I'm going to take my tracing paper. So I'm measuring my roll. Actually, I'm lining up my roll with one of these lines, and then I'm going to line up my pattern with that same line and overlap, and I'm going to tape it. And this is so that I make sure that this is the center front. I want that center front to be super straight. I don't want it to bend slightly where it meets. So I made sure to line it all up so that it would be in the right place, and I would have a perfectly straight center front. So I'm taping my pattern right to the tissue paper. And then I take, this is my clear ruler, and I'm going to measure from here at the waist. I have to stand up a little bit. So I'm measuring down to this measurement of where the ruler is, and then, hold on, I have to do the math. Okay, so I need 9 more inches from here. I'm lengthening mine from the waist 27 inches because I want this to be kind of a midi dress that will work for both summer and fall. So I've lengthened this line out to the measurement that I like, all the way from here. And I did a straight line from the waist straight out to here. And then the next part is a little tricky. Since this flares, you can't do a straight line right here. You need to curve it. And I'm trying to think of, if I go from here, for sure I want this to be a right angle, and then it makes it tricky because this has a curved hem, and I don't want that curved hem because I want to add gathers, like a gathered ruffle at the bottom. So I don't want to use this curved hem. I want it to be, if you have a regular blouse, most likely it's going to go like this, and it's just going to curve slightly. And this is what you want your hem to do. So if this is going, so I'm just guessing on that curve. It's okay if it's a little uneven. And from there, that's how I'm going to draw the hem. And I'm going to kind of draw it a little, I'm going to have to go back and curve it nicely after. So I'm doing the same measurement. I'm marking up my pattern so that I am adding the same length across the whole hem. So this is my hem. Now, since I am adding a gathered ruffle here along the bottom, I am not adding hem allowance, and I just have a little bit of seam allowance here. If you are adding a hem, you need to even go further, or enough seam allowance if you want to do a facing, you can also do that. And that is one part. I'm going to hurry and cut this out. So I've rolled out my medical exam paper again, and I'm lining up the back, and I need to line up this first and then line up my back with that same line. It's really important to get a perfectly straight center back or center front line. It will make a big difference in the result of your pattern and your resulting dress. So I'm measuring from here. I'm going straight down, following the curve, and then I'm going to add my next bit, just like I did to the front, and make sure you have a right angle right there at your hem, and then drawing my hem as if it were there. There's my curved hem, a right angle there, and I'm going to cut that. Now what you need to do is check this angle with your front piece. So I'm lining up the top at the shoulder seam and the bottom at the hem, and making sure my waist lines up. But the important thing is that this line matches up. If you were to think of this as being a right angle and this is the angle of this seam that's coming out, this line, you want it to match up with both of them, the front and the back. You want it to be exactly the same, because the fabric will be cut slightly on the bias, and you want that bias cut to match front and back. Or when you match up those seams, one will hang slightly, lower or wrinkle slightly different because it's cut on a different angle than the other one. So you really want to make sure that this is exactly the same. Now before you cut out your fabric, you've already checked the angle of the side seam, but you need to check to see if this width of the hip will fit you on the back and on the front. Since you added all of this pattern down here, there's a chance it doesn't fit over your hips or over your backside. So I would check that. You can either do a muslin, measure it around at the hip area and see if the measurements work. It all depends on the original blouse design. If the shirt came down past your hips, then you probably can just lengthen it and it wouldn't be a big deal. If the blouse pattern ended above your hips, you have to make sure you measure to make your hips fit within that measurement. I love teaching people how to alter patterns and hack patterns, because if you have a pattern base, you can almost make anything from it. You just need to have somewhere to start from. Please ask me any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching this video, and I can't wait to see all the patterns that you lengthen and turn into dresses.